Hello everybody and welcome to the review vlog for Over the Garden Wall. This will be a hard series for me to review, honestly, and I cannot be unbiased here. I honestly, it's a show that I cannot, like, I find it hard to review the show because it didn't click with me. And that is completely my own fault. There are some things about the show that I just cannot completely comprehend, or they don't just perfectly click with me, and that is a shame. That is a very huge shame, and I feel actually kind of left out of that, and I'm kind of sad about that because there's a lot more to the show that I cannot just experience for some reason. For some reason or another, there's something in the show that just doesn't let me get into it, no matter how hard I try. I've been recently, in the past 3 or 4 days, I've been trying to rewatch the episodes and look deeply into them, and like, I just can't get into it for some reason. That's not to say that it's a bad show, au contraire, it is actually really freaking great. It's like really, like, there's a lot more depth to the show than what I went into with the commentaries themselves, which is pretty freaking cool. And the show, like, I was told that this is a show that is worth rewatching, and I completely agree. With the ending in mind, the whole show takes another meaning, and it becomes so heavily layered and nuanced that it's quite magnificent. As a one who has read Divina Commedia and who has been studying or looking into the whole Latin as a language and the culture of ancient cultures and such, however briefly, so don't take that as credit, I can absolutely appreciate what the show has. Like, it has taken heavy influences from classical literature, and I mean classical from thousands of years ago, and, well, over 1,000 years ago, let's not over exaggerate there. You know, from the Divina Commedia especially, it's, like, the general storyline is something that, and the general progression of the story is something where you can go very, very heavily deeply into analytical side of things. But for some reason it's just not clicking with me. I completely understand what it is talking about, but for some reason I just cannot, I cannot appreciate it for what it is. I mean, I can appreciate what it is, but it's not resonating with me for some reason. That is odd, because I like the general tone that it has, a very fairy tale appearance to it, like the older fairy tales of my past had, and that's an interesting tone that the show has that I felt like was lost for ages. And I appreciate that it was brought back with this kind of a show, and that this show has received such positivity to it. The general storytelling method is unconventional, to say the least, but it requires you to suspend your disbelief a lot. And if you can do that, it is a story that is definitely worth diving deeply into it. However, it is it's still hard show to kind of get past. But if you can accept all of the silliness and accept the kind of poor pacing, if you can accept the flaws of the show, it is immaculate. It is definitely a unique show. And though its storyline and its influences are very visible, and they are definite, and the storyline isn't unique, the show itself is so unique that I cannot do it justice with a review log like this. It is a show that I recommend watching at the very least to get the general grasp of it. And definitely a show that I recommend going into blind, because the ending completely changes the whole thing, and though that rarely is completely a good thing, it wasn't unprecedented. It was not unprecedented that the ending would be so dramatic. But this is one show where I absolutely accept that the ending was... Like, I absolutely accept the ending as a sort of a... It wasn't definitely last. it was an ending that was prefaced quite a bit in the show from basically the first episode. And the whole show comes around thanks to it. But it feels like it comes out of nowhere until you go back and rewatch everything and see that it has been set up from the beginning. There are things to the show that make it far worse, though. Like, I generally am rather nitpicking about the whole pacing issue, and in the first half the show had a rather interesting style of pacing, which could easily just break it apart to you. But that's not to say that it's bad. Now, there's a lot of things in the show are very based on your personal preference, whether they are good or bad. Not only from the style of animation, from the art style, to the characters and the general story and the sound design. Basically, almost everything is so heavily influenced by your own preferences that it is hard show. It's a hard show to review fairly like that. But it is a show that is definitely worth checking out, at the very least, to see if it can resonate with you. It will be definitely something that will stick with you. Although that's a rather asymptomatic sentence, since anything that resonates with you will stick with you. As you can see, I'm having a hard time to say anything intelligible about this without just rambling, because it's an odd show, and I hate myself for not being able to enjoy it fully. But I can completely understand why people were so hyped up about this, because it certainly is a show, it is a story, it's an experience that is very unique, to say the least. I'm not gonna go too deeply into it, so... I know it's rather rambling, but I tried to record this is like the third time, I think, so... A normal review vlog won't do justice for this show. So, thank you all very much for watching. I hope to see you in the future. Have a great day, stay awesome. Ganmu out. Thanks for watching. And watch the show again. I certainly did, and it is something that deserves your attention.